Awesome. So the first panelist that I will bring and talk about is Nzisa Kiilu. Sorry, I am from the same tribe as you, and so I feel bad that I didn't say it well. So let me do it again. We will welcome Nzisa Kiilu. She's a systems engineer, architect, and operator with over 15 years of experience scaling complex systems across cloud, healthcare, and global infrastructure. At Google Cloud, she leads large-scale orchestration systems for ML and TPU workloads, enabling production-scale AI systems globally. She is the founder and CEO of Clutch AI, where she focuses on orchestrating computing and physical assets in resource-constrained environments. I think she'll talk more about that. Her work enables scalable deployment across industries, including telecom, manufacturing, and healthcare, where cost, latency, and infrastructure constraints are critical. Bridging Silicon Valley and Africa, Nzisa brings execution discipline and infrastructure thinking to the next generation of technology companies. She is also a long-time angel investor and advisor to startups in Kenya. So Nzisa, I knew AI was my thing when?
I think I would say when the work we did back in, and Dr. Ishata can testify to this because we worked together back then. Back in 2019, we were working on sublinear scale systems at Google, but we didn't really understand what that meant. Then fast forward to 2022, 23, we really started to understand what the foundational work we did, how it materialized, and we can talk about that as we continue. So yeah, excited
Thank
to be
you.
here. Thank you.
Welcome, welcome. Our next panelist that I'll be reading their bio would be Dr. Stephen Kamanu Ishava. I hope I've not butchered it also. He is an organizational behavior expert and seasoned technologist who orchestrates and deploys large-scale ML learning, machine learning infrastructure for AI and infrastructure at Google. In this role, he enables global access to Gemini's solutions to solve complex business challenges. His academic research is rooted in nearly 3 decades of corporate experience across Fortune 50 companies in finance, telecommunications, and technology. Dr. Ishada is a visiting professor at universities in Kenya and the US, lecturing on technology, organizational behavior, and research. He is also the founder of Wezesha, a community empowerment platform driven by the mission to empower through shared experiences. Through Wezesha, he mobilizes communities to explore contemporary topics such as mental health, global mentorship, and demystifying AI. He resides in Alpharetta, USA with his family. So, Dr. Ishada, I knew AI was my thing when?
Thank you, Barbara, and the rest of the crew for inviting me here. Um, I don't have a really good story like Nzisa about, sublinear scale because honestly, even though AI has been here for a really long time, I'm one of those late adapters. But to answer your question, and this is like for real, for real, for real, I knew the power of AI when I asked Gemini to pick out an outfit for me to go for dinner. And I remember that day clearly. Um, we've been invited for dinner, and I'm like, should I wear this or this? I was like, well, let me ask Gemini. So I took the pictures of the two outfits and said, which one should I wear? And I described where I was going. And it said, okay, try this one. And then I said, oh, okay. Then what tie should I wear? Well, this color tie. Okay. Then what shoes should I wear? This color shoes. And since then, Gemini is my outfit partner for a lot of the events that I go to.
I think we need to see evidence of those outfits on the side. We'll look for you on social media. So our next panelist, her name is Cecilia Makundi. And as a Senior leader at Deloitte, Cecilia helps Fortune 500 companies and global enterprises drive transformation at scale. She specializes in blending finance, ERP systems, emerging technologies, and AI-powered solutions into strategies that deliver measurable impact. Her expertise sits at the intersection of business strategy and execution, where she leads executive relationships and oversees large-scale transformation programs. What defines Cecilia's leadership is the ability to turn complexity into clarity. She's a specialist in executive client leadership, guiding organizations through AI adoption and ERP modernization while ensuring outcomes are sustainable. Beyond her technical and strategic oversight, Cecilia is a dedicated people leader, mentoring and empowering future leaders to thrive in collaborative, innovation-driven environments. So Cecilia, welcome. Thank you so much for coming and joining us today. And as I've done with the other panelists, I would like you to finish the sentence. I knew AI was my thing when.
Thank you so much, Barbara. And to a point that you made earlier, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody. It's interesting that I see people from the same tribe, 3 people. That is very interesting. It's not the norm. So clap to ourselves. Number 2 here, I can attest to Dr. I call him Ichi outfits. They are the bomb. Okay, so I knew AI is a thing and a big thing in 2023 when I went for, we normally have an annual summit just to look through our pipeline, to look at what the clients we are serving, what they're looking for, and do this every year. But that specific year, it was like there'd been so much going on behind the scenes that I wasn't even aware it was happening. And I realized that all we're talking about is what is that one slide that every executive can go to any business and be able to have that conversation. What do we need our practitioners to know, because the clients are starting to ask this? And so when I started seeing that, when I saw that, it was a moment literally that I was like, okay, there's something coming. At the same time, I have young adults who are in college, who are in the computer science profession. I am surrounded by a lot of teenagers who are in this space. And so the biggest question was, oh, AI is doing all these things. What will our career look like? And so that became something that I was like, okay, I need to help the young professionals start to think about what this looks for them. And at the same time, I need to look at what my job will look like in this future that we're going into. And so those are the 2 things that have driven me into adapt into AI.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. And with our final panelists, I want to introduce Pauline Namwakira. She is an AWS authorized instructor specializing in cloud, AI, and data. She has trained and mentored learners across Africa and beyond, supporting their successful transition into high-impact tech areas. Her work focuses on the real-world applications of generative and agentic AI and their critical intersection with cloud infrastructure. Pauline is deeply passionate about digital inclusion and is dedicated to empowering more women to build, experiment, and lead in the rapidly evolving technology landscape. And so, Pauline, as I've done with the other panelists, finish the sentence. I knew AI was my thing when.
Oh, I love this. I knew AI was my thing when I first built my portfolio website. At that time, I just stand and I did not write any single line of code. I just told it, I want a blue background. This is my picture. These are the things to put in. And I remember within 30 minutes, I was, snapping my screen and telling people, I can't believe this. So for now, I've built like more better things, but that was the first time I was like, oh my God, this is great. And I want to dig deeper into it. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. And let's show by clapping through the emojis, welcoming the panelists. Please let's welcome them with a resounding claps. I'm so excited, guys. I hope you can hear it in my voice. Looking forward to this conversation. And even as we are talking today about shared experiences within in our panelists' lives and what they've done in their journey, I am hoping that we will take something away today that will enable us to, seek to do better in our lives, seek better to do better in our careers, and even have tips and ideas on how we can shift into maybe the industry or look into different ways that we can apply what we're learning today in our industries and even in our classes and schools. So the next slide, we'll start directly into the questions, which will be about starting out for everybody, for the panelists especially. The question is, yes, thank you, Ivy. What inspired you to pursue a career in artificial intelligence? And what is something you wish you had known when you were starting out? And this will go out to every panelist. As you can see, as AfChix, we usually hold women-only workshops. But today we have a guest, and I'd like to call him a friend of chicks. That's what we call them at AfChix, the men who support women in the field and in tech. And so we are grateful for him. And we want to ensure that this is a safe space for everybody. So there'll be questions directed at him, and there'll be questions directed at the female panelists, and then there'll be questions directed at everybody. So let's listen in. So we can start with Pauline, go to Cecilia, then Nzisa, and then Ichi, if I can call you that.
Okay, what inspired me to pursue a career in AI? I think AI is cool, especially for us who are always experimental and always trying new things out as well. So when I started out, I didn't think of it as a career basically. At first, I was just like, what can I build with this? This is exciting. I built my first application and I'm like, what can you do else? And then I'm disappointed and I'm like, and we try again and again and again. But then when it became an issue is when, so as an AWS trainer, we normally deliver these corporate trainings. And then from around 2024, there was a shift as well, where corporations were trying to move more into AI. So we saw a lot of corporate trainings coming in towards, AI side, but it was also just an introductory bit. They want to understand, what is this AI and how can it help our businesses and why am I scared? Are we going to lose our jobs and so on? So that's when I tried to transition. I was only cloud and just building my own stuff as well, and decided, okay, since corporates, tech industries, everyone from multiple industries as well, not tech, finance, everyone, even HR is figuring out how can AI help me. AWS, Amazon, by its own shifted the responsibility and was like, all the trainers, you need to have skill in AI because most organizations need that as well. So for me, I don't think it was an inspiration. I just started building and then saw the impact that it was bringing in and decided, okay, this is the shift. So we better get started with that. Something I wish I knew when I was starting out. I think I might pass on that one because for me, I'm just a, builder as well. So when it came in, I was already, of course, majority of us started with ChatGPT. I was just like, what can it do as well? So I think I'd say The thing is, just do it. Start now, experimenting with it, and see where it can get you to. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Cecilia?
Yeah. So to the question, what inspired me? So for me, it found me in my career. So I am picking it up to advance my career. It's the shift that has happened. Um, it is almost a mandatory shift to anybody who is in mid or senior career. For someone who's starting, there are reasons why this is should be a focus, something that, and it's really grounded in the shift that has happened. I don't think we're going to have the choice to ignore it.
Yeah.
So being somebody who serves clients and sees, helps clients to achieve their business goals, and technology is the catalyst to that. As the technology has advanced and new technology has come up, we do not have a choice but to help clients do that. And I can only help a client once I'm informed myself. So it's an advancement to career. The other thing is, if what would I do different, or what I wish I knew when I started. Um, I think it's moving so fast for everybody, to be very honest. So I don't know if it's what I wish I knew. It's moving so fast, even the people who are creating it, I don't even know if they're realizing how fast they're bringing it to us. Every week there's something moving. What I have made a decision for myself is I'm going to specialize in something. AI is such a broad term. For example, Pauline is talking about the cloud. Even if I wanted, I do not have the time to learn all that. But because, and especially for people who are already mid-career, senior career, it is to use it to help you in what you do today, to make sure that you advance and you become more productive, you produce better results. And so it is looking at what you already been doing and incorporating that. For example, let's say you're an accountant, you already understand the business processes of AI, of accounting. Now, how can AI come in and help you to do that instead of being everywhere? You use it to really advance what you already know, because it's applicable in every space that is available. So that would be my viewpoint, because it's too large. Pick a and pick up a space. I specialize in process engineering, making sure automations. If that's the space, pick that and move with that, because it's too big. It's everywhere.
Thank you, Cecilia, for that. Nzisa?
Yeah, so fully aligned with what both Pauline and Cecilia are saying. What I would add to that is, as an encouragement to everyone on the call, very few people can say that they pursued a career in AI, right? So those who are maybe overinflating that they did, you need to double click on what is the truth. Because unless you're a PhD researcher who has worked in those spaces, and you probably would be working at OpenAI or the big frontier model companies, many of us are new to AI, me included.
Yeah.
And I'm a senior professional, worked in tech for the last 20 something years. I remember in college, there was an AI class, and I thought it was gibberish. I really thought it was, I didn't take it seriously. Okay. I didn't. I thought it was too far in the future. It was very idealistic, and so I didn't pay attention to it. So, with that in mind, I hope that's encouraging to everyone that we're all new to this, which means it's a very level playing field for anyone to catch up. But what I would say is, I would say what inspired my career in tech is maybe the more appropriate answer that I'll give. To be honest, I grew up in Kenya like everyone else, and throughout my high school days, I didn't really interact with computers. and I wasn't interested in them. I wanted to do hotel management. My
Mm.
parents said no. I wanted to do, I think I even wanted to be an is it called air hostess? Like I
Yes.
wanted to do the things I saw, right? So
Yeah.
I didn't really, of course, there was women doctors and all of that, but I wasn't inspired to do any of those things. And so I would be lying to say I got into tech because I had this epiphany. I didn't. I went to take a Microsoft class as part of preparing to go to college here in the US. And I was undecided at that point, and I that was when I got exposed to Excel. And I liked math and I was good at math, but I wouldn't say like I was a scholar. So what made me upset was that Excel could do math in a much better
Mm.
way than I did. So that's when I decided I need to go figure out what's this thing that's able to do this. And since then, I've stayed in tech because of the problem solving aspect of it. So I would
Mm.
say what inspired me is probably just trying to problem solve. And that's the same approach I'm taking with AI is how can AI help me problem solve the things that I need to figure out in my life?
Yeah.
Not everything, but where do I apply it where it makes sense?
Mm.
Um, so if you're sitting there and you're wondering, wow, these people got here, they had this epiphany, they were brilliant. Not really. Many of us stumble into our careers, and those of you who stumble into the wrong careers, it's just as easy to stumble into the right career as the wrong career.
Right.
You just have
Right.
to find yourself if you're in the wrong path, dust yourself off and pivot to the right career. But I would like to say that I had this big epiphany 20 something years ago that I would be here. What I wish I knew when I started out, I worked a lot on systems, architecture, assembly, a lot of that, coding, Java. What I wish I knew then is the importance of actually also learning about data pipelines,
Mm.
and learning about structuring data in ways because I think that's a material advantage if you have that as a background. And if you don't, and you're sitting here and you're wondering where do I start your career, I would think understanding data is going to be an integral part of being successful
Mm.
in an AI career. So it's probably too late for me to go back and try and do data science. But we're catching up just like everyone else. We're all new to this. So yeah, we carry on.
Thank you, Nzisa, for that honest reflection about where you started off from. Next, I would like to hear from Dr. Ichi about what inspired him.
Yeah, I think everyone hit it on the spot. And that's the benefit of going last. You can say, yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yes, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. But I do want to, especially, what Cecilia said and Zuka, what she said about we're so late in our careers. We would be lying if we said, oh, we were inspired to do AI, right? And
Mm.
then what Nzisa said about, the career progression. So for me, I have a very similar story as Nzisa. In fact, I'm very transparent about this. I did not fall into tech. Growing up, my son, when he was 7, he asked me, "Did you always know you were going to be in tech?" I was like, when I was 7, there was no tech. Like there was no thing called tech, right? I didn't see a computer until after I finished high school. So, and that's a story for another day, but uh, I fell into this more from a desire to emulate people that I had seen. So when I was
Mm.
in high school, I saw people wearing suit and tie and said, "Oh, I want to be like that person. What does that person do?" Ended up that they work in a computer room. And so I said, okay, I guess to be like that person, this is what I need to learn. And so that's how my journey started. And again, that's probably a long story that we don't have time for. But here's what I'll say. I want to make sure everyone is grounded by what we mean when we say a career in artificial intelligence, because I think, like
Mm.
Nzisa said, it's overly inflated. The way I would frame the conversation is what career can I pursue in support of artificial intelligence or
Mm.
leveraging artificial intelligence? And here's what I mean. In
Wow.
support of artificial intelligence means what I do, what Nzisa does, which means we build the infrastructure that allows you to use Gemini, ChatGPT, etc.
Mm.
And in the pipeline of those who build the infrastructure for artificial intelligence are mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, chemical engineers, logistics people, supply chain people, realtors, lawyers, negotiators. Like these thousands and thousands of jobs that each of you are doing today in
Mhm.
college or post college that are in support of this monster called AI, even though you don't take a AI class, right? I always think
Mhm.
about this term prompt engineering. If you ask someone 10 years ago, oh, what do you think about taking prompt engineering in college? They'll be like, huh? What is that,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And 5 years from now, people will be like, whew, the AI does prompt engineering for me. I don't need to learn it, right?
Mhm.
So, bucket number one is being grounded in the fact that there's jobs that you currently do, careers that you can pursue that are in support of building intelligence infrastructure. Then going to
Mhm.
what Pauline and Cecilia do, right? Which is leveraging what artificial intelligence has. That means you could be a nurse, you could be an accountant, you could be, a supply chain professional, and you're leverage. In fact, this is another one. You could be a salesperson and you're
Mhm.
leveraging artificial intelligence to advance either the work you do or the business that you're building.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
one use case that I love giving is you can literally, and a lot of these LLMs have like deep research versus just, general research, right? If you do a deep research, you say, I am going to see a client, and you give the name of the client, and I want to understand exactly how I can sell this service to them. And you
Yeah.
tell it to do deep research. It goes out and it does all these things for you, comes back and can even give you a podcast, a recording, a detailed report. And you go over there and you're like, Cecilia, you make millions and millions and millions of dollars because you nailed this customer, right? That is leveraging artificial intelligence.
Mhm.
So I just want to make sure that at least position that probably that's the way we should frame it versus a career in artificial intelligence. What is something I wish I'd known when starting out? Honestly, and Ivy knows this, Nzisa knows this, Nzuka knows this. I think you just ground yourself in what you love
Mhm.
and what you're good at. And the rest will just follow. Honestly, that's how my life has always unfolded. There's the things I love, which is
Mhm.
where, psychology and all that comes in. But there's the things that I'm good at, which I guess I'm okay in technical stuff. And then suddenly you start seeing things unfolding for you. So I cannot go back 30 years from now and say, you know, what do you wish you knew? Because I wouldn't be here speaking if I had taken the advice from 30 years ago. You know what I'm saying? You get you get to a split on the road and you choose either right or left. And whichever one you choose is the right one because you'll never know what would have happened if you chose the other one. So
Mm. That's a good perspective. That's a really good perspective. Yeah, and thank you for clarifying that because I've always had that thought of AI just came in and having a career in AI looks like something that isn't like fathomable. And you guys clarifying that as whatever you're doing, leveraging AI for it is a better way to place that because people are trying to jump from one career to the next or trying to look for the next thing in AI without actually knowing that the skills that they've learned are not to go to waste, but leveraging those and using AI. I think that's what you guys are saying is the better way to look at this. Awesome, awesome. So we'll go to the next question, which I would like Dr. Kamanu to answer. Um, as you were as you are as you were building technical foundation, the next one, Ivy, this one will answer at the end. I've just seen that we can find another way to answer that. As you were building your technical foundation, did you recognize any unspoken barriers that your female peers faced, which you didn't? And how did that realization change how you approached teamwork?
this is a really, really good question and a very important one. And so it is very important, and I'll look to Nzisa to keep me very honest here because this is because of the importance of this. Um, it took me a very long time very long time to realize that I was privileged. Very long time. And even every day, I continue to realize how privileged I am. And let me define what privilege means. Privilege means something that you haven't earned, something that you just receive because of who you are, where you are born, and the type of person you are. So let me further contextualize what that means. And again, I'm going to be fully transparent here, so I hope it doesn't offend anyone. I'm a man, privilege. That means there's things I received that my sisters did not receive. I'm the only son. So I got a lot of privileges very early on that my sisters didn't get. Okay. I grew up speaking English. That is my spoken language. That's my written language. So immediately I have a privilege that other people did not get. I grew up in the city, in Nai. So I got privileges that other people didn't get. I was the third born of the house. So by the time they got to me, they were able to afford to send me to private school, right? Which my sisters didn't get, and I came to State O and my sisters didn't do it. And then, since we talked about tribes, I'm from the majority tribe. So inherently, being a Cuk, there was some privilege that I garnered. The reason I say this is because one of the first things you have to, before you can even realize that there's barriers for other people, is to actually acknowledge the privilege that you have.
Yeah.
Because when you acknowledge the privilege that you have, then you can turn around and say, wow, okay, I didn't earn this, but then I'm receiving all these benefits. Okay. Now, fast forward 2 years later, there's a lot of work that we were doing, I'll say generally in tech, where we were trying to and I don't like using this word this way, but to empower women, right? Because I don't feel you can empower someone. Someone gets empowered, right? They feel empowered. You provide structures, then they feel empowered. And so one of the things we were trying to understand is how can we provide allyship so that barriers that women are facing can be lowered because they'll never be overcome, they'll be lowered. And there was this exercise that we used to do was a sheet of paper that said, have you ever experienced this? Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And there's like 30 questions. And I was given that to fill out. Have you ever experienced this? I'm like, nope, 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 nope. And I had probably 90% of no's. And that 90% of no's was an indicator of how privileged I was. I'm never scared when running. I don't have to mute my headphones. I'm not scared of being overspoken with. I don't see that promotion. If I get promoted or don't promoted, I don't have to think because it's my gender, things like that. And again, all of that started making me understand and realize that there's a lot of barriers that women face because of this lack of privilege that I have. And so how did that realization change how I've approached teamwork? One is um, ensuring that other men understand the privilege that they have. Because you'll be surprised that we just speak words without thinking that what we're saying is actually a sign of the privilege that we have. So I started teaching allyship classes at work to spread the word about the importance of understanding that you have privilege. So that's number one. Number two is creating systems that allow an early detection of bias. And so what does that mean? That means when you're in meetings, you make it very clear at the beginning of the meeting that this is an inclusive meeting where everyone has a voice. And if you detect anything going on that is especially gender centric, you raise it up immediately. You don't wait to tell the person after the meeting, hey, you shouldn't have said that. You raise it up immediately so everyone recognizes that you've observed it, you've seen it, and you're addressing it. And so when you create systems like that in place at the very beginning, so what I mean is at the very beginning of the meeting, you're saying, this is our norm, this is how we work, then everyone now is on standby, is on check, and you would probably see that reduced. The third thing is being a leader, sometimes you are in discussions where people are being assigned projects, right? So they'll say, oh, Ichi did so well in that infrastructure project, he'll get this next project. Oh, John did such a fantastic job in that project, he'll get this project. Oh, Barbara, yeah, Barbara Mutinda, yeah, she's really good. I think she should continue with this, moderating. And I'm just using this as an example. I think she should continue to moderate talks for AfChix. Now, what happens when that resource decision is made? That means Ichi and John have a higher chance at promotion, have a higher chance at salary because their work is seen as impactful. Whereas Barbara, even though she's really good at moderating, she's not given that opportunity. And so, once you are aware, once you understand privilege, once you're aware of biases and you put systems in place, only then can you be able to turn around and say, we shouldn't be assigning Barbara this. We should give her an opportunity at an infrastructure project. That
Right.
way she ends up being in an infrastructure project. So I think those three things. I'll say one last thing, which was it was a very eye-opening thing for me.
Mhm.
There was this Stanford researcher who came to Google a long time ago, and he was talking about mentorship, and he was talking about orientation. When you join an organization, who's your buddy in the
Mm.
organization, what mentor you assigned to, and his research. And when I find it, I'll share it with you, Barbara.
Yeah, thank you.
The results of his research were this. Oftentimes, we match a incoming female with a female leader, right? Because she's female, she's female, she's female. I think there's some synergy there. What his
Mm.
research said was that you should actually match incoming female with male leaders because there's an inherent gap in privilege between the male leader and the female leader. So you actually get more output from the incoming female if she's matched to a male leader than a female leader. So I think it's just those things that if you put those structures in place, I think it helps with addressing this. Sorry, I have a lot of how do you say it? I don't like using the word passionate loosely, but I'm really passionate about this stuff. And so that's why I rambled on for a while.
No, thank you. I think it's good to hear from, the male perspective also, just so that then we're able to blend and see how friends of chicks, as we call it at AfChix, can help in terms of even the role modeling and mentorship part in a way that is safe and very strategic and helpful towards us. So thank you for what you've shared. It's I was like I should write notes down, and then I was like I need to ask the question. So I'll reach out to you later for this. And looking forward to seeing that article if you do find it. Our next question will go to Cecilia and Nzisa, if you don't mind. This is now, we're coming to the section of navigating through your careers. And now that we've established that it is leveraging your skills in your career by using AI and how it will help you in your careers, I want to ask the question of what challenges have you faced as a woman in tech or in the field that you're in while leveraging AI, and how did you overcome them? What kind of challenges throughout your whole career? Maybe mention two each so that then we're able to cover the myriad of questions that we have today. So maybe Cecilia can go ahead.
Yeah, I could start.
Yeah.
So one thing I haven't maybe shared here is from a foundation perspective, I didn't go to school to do tech. I went to school for finance. I did BCom in Kenyatta University, did CPAs at Strath, so CPAK. So my foundation was in accounting. went to ENY and did audit before I came to the US. And my first challenge was even transitioning the profession itself. And then I got curious about what else I could do. And that's how I ended up in tech. So if you really look in my background, I'm not your techie girl. Yeah. So I'm your business person because that's where I understand. And I remember doing my first training and I was trying to understand even coding. And for some reason, my brain could not understand coding. So here I am. Somebody has seen I have the experience in accounting. This can translate into the background. So accounting, you're more auditing the financial statements, but where are they coming from? They're being built by a system. So now I've gone to the background, which I'm able to speak the language. I'm able to speak to your controller. I'm able to speak to your CFO because I understand that front end that they're looking at. Now, when you think about that, now I am immersed in a situation of techies and people who understand the language, the background, which at the time, I don't think there were many women in tech, and it's the depth. And so most of the times you would find yourself in this, maybe an only female, or maybe there's a small portion of you for real. And so when you think about that, for me, it was personally very challenging to overcome that. But what I did is I played to my strength. I stopped playing to the strength of I want to be a techie because I have I have a much higher mountain to climb than trying to fix that, than really just fixing what I'm good at. And what I started playing to is I can be the bridge between what that techie person is doing and making sure that I can translate that into the business language. And now my customer is the CFO, is your controller. I'm able to speak that language because my background is in that, and I can help them bridge that gap because it's very possible you find the tech person knows the tech, the depth of it, but translating that into business sometimes can be difficult. So the challenge knew I could, it might be a longer learning curve for me, and played more to my strength. And that's how I was able to overcome. And that's what I have played in for the longest. And even when I think about artificial intelligence, and I was talking to a friend of mine just 2 days ago, and I was saying, I am going to play in what I'm good at. I'm spending time understanding a little bit of the background so that I can have an intelligent conversation, but not to be the expert in it. But I will be the expert in making sure in translating this for the business for them to get the results that they need, because that's where I have the experience and I know how to translate those problems and go back to the tech person and tell them this is what the business needs. Now, what needs to happen in the background, the depth of it is not going to be my expertise, but I am the one who's going to bring it to the business for them to achieve their business goals. And so that's how I've been able to overcome. And as I get into even the AI space, that's how I see it, to play to that strength. So for somebody who's mid-career, I think it's identifying, or mid or late career, it's identifying where you can play your strength to be part of this ecosystem. And there are many sports people can join. It's playing to your strength and your experiences. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you. I too am not a techie, and so I deeply get where you're coming from in your explanation. I'm learning a lot. Thank you so much, Cecilia. Nzisa, what say you?
Let me start by first. Cecilia makes a very good point, and I'm just going to share a resource that has been very important for my career. at the very beginning of my career, even in college, I got exposed to personality tests. And honestly, over time, they actually don't change. They shift here and there, but who you are continues to be consistent. So, what I would start by saying is, I'm going to put a few resources in the chat. Strengths Finder is a really good resource. It tells you your
Yeah.
top 5 strengths. And the logic behind that is it's better for you to focus and enhance your strengths than to try and get your weaknesses to become your strengths. So, I would encourage you to do that. Um, so my first example actually ties into that in a way. I'm a very social person. I'm an extrovert. I love people. I love laughing. I love all of that, which is very contradictory to techie people. And so throughout my early days in college and in even in coding classes and all of that, I always felt that I didn't fit in. Well, first of all, in college, I was one of only 3 women, and I was the only Black woman for that matter. And so even when I would go to the labs, it was very, very hard to find a peer to code with. It was very hard um, to find people to cheat with, which made me have to work harder. And I camped in front of professors' class, like professors' offices.
Offices.
Yes. So I would say to a point that was made, I think, by Ichi, your sponsors, those are your sponsors. Those are your first sponsors, your professors. And my best professors, actually, I would have said, let me look for a woman, but there was no women actually in my at that time. So I made good friends with a lot of my professors, and where I wasn't understanding things in class, which happens, right? Because as a woman, also sometimes you're scared of asking in class. And I remember in my first, I think my computer 101 class, somebody was like, why are you asking this fundamental question? It's foundational. Why don't you know the answer to it? And what I didn't realize, and I came to find out later, is a lot of those guys had been building computers since they were 14 years old, talking about privilege, right? So there are just some things that they knew at the very beginning that I didn't know. So you might also find yourself, especially in Kenya, a lot of the guys maybe have been dabbling since they were younger, and you haven't, and you're coming in cold. Some of that privilege comes from them just having come into this earlier than you did, right? So stick with it. So the challenge I had first was that, like, just trying to figure out how do I balance my personality and what I want to do.
Yeah.
I think I pretty much decided I want to do tech as soon as I saw the Excel, and that was that. Like, I was set. I never changed my mind about that. I came and I chose to do computer science. I didn't know what it meant. Um, there was those coding challenges. There was my first job out of school. I was a programmer, and I remember there was quite a few guys who would joke about, like, there was this movie that had come out called Anchorman, I think, and there was a joke in there that says, women have small brains, and one of the guys said that on my first day, and I remember, like, I heard it and I was crying because I thought that that's like he was saying me. And later on, come to find out he was joking, but I guess I'll never know. But it's just those small, small things. And then we did a strengths finder. The whole company that did a strengths finder thing. And literally all my strengths were harmony, positivity, woo. If you know what woo is, it's winning people over. Literally everything except for futuristic, strategic, all these like super nerdy things.
Yeah.
And I remember crying, and I went to the CEO and I was like, what does this mean? Am I in the wrong career? And he's like, no, but maybe we should position you where you talk to customers and we leverage and lean into those things because that's what you're good at. So as a woman too, what I've found that has been a challenge is I keep getting pulled away from the tech because they keep thinking that's the role that a woman should play, is to be in front of the customer, to want to do that. So I would say the opposite for some of us is fight to stay in the tech because you will be constantly getting pulled to be
Yeah.
in front of the customer. And I think your greatest strength is to stay technical as much as you stay non-technical. That would be your strength. So I've fought and I've stayed in it, and that's how I actually got to Google. My second challenge, I would say, is you know, the funny thing is most of my challenges in the workplace have been from other women. I don't know what to take from that. So I think as women, it's tempting for us to be like, well, my fellow women will be my peers. It's not always the case. So I would say as you get into the career, learn what your boundaries are, learn to speak up for yourself,
Yeah.
take on those big challenges, run to the things that feel scary for you. And as you build up on those things, then it becomes hard for the difficult relationships that you'll encounter. It will be easier for you to navigate those. I think after I'd been at Google for a while and had built credibility through rolling out some really big systems, it became hard for some of those things to happen. But even at Google, those things happen. You will find very challenging leaders. Um, and I would say just stay open to the way you build up your resume is by saying yes to the things that really scare you.
Mm.
The things that nobody else wants to do, those are the things you should actually do. Um, in 2019, everybody quit because of COVID, and I got this really huge program to roll out systems. I didn't know much about data centers, and I just said yes because that's what I do. I say yes to things, and I'm like, I'll figure it out along the way. I've figured out. I've come to America. I've done all this. Come on, like, how hard can this be? I went through 844, right? Um,
Yes.
finish 844, you can do anything. So yes, say yes has been like the resounding thing that has been very important in my life. 4 years later, after we'd rolled out all these systems, it became pretty clear, I guess, that this was where I should be, and this is so big problems always find me, me and Ichi, like the gnarly things that nobody wants to do. Always someone's knocking on my door and saying, "Zisa, try and figure this out," and kind of that's become my MO. And you know what? It becomes your sweet spot, and you find a niche, and you just kind of get good at it. So I would say the biggest challenge for me has been to be comfortable in ambiguity, comfortable in the hard things, and just being confident that I will figure it out, um, no matter how scary it is in the moment. So I would say those are the two things I would point at that have really been influential. Yeah, but please, as much as you can, try to do as many personality tests because they do teach you a lot about yourself. But they don't also reflect on what you should or shouldn't do because I've been technical and as I've stayed as positive and happy-go-lucky as before, and it actually helps me in my career. So, there you go.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Nzisa. I want to ask the next question to Pauline. Um, were there moments of self-doubt or career pivots, and how did you navigate that? Pauline, I know you're new in the field of AI, but you've been working as an instructor with AWS, and you have, met a lot of people through that. Did you have moments where you had self-doubt or career pivots maybe? And how did you navigate that?
Okay, so a couple are coming to mind already. So yeah, for the newbies, I'm part of you, by the way, in this career taking. So I'm like, some are there 5 years old. I don't know if that's old enough or not old enough. Yeah, but luckily I started my career training, so I was part of the being confident and doing hard things when you're not even sure if you'll be doing that as well. So I I kind of got a referral, and then I was like, but how am I even to be a teacher? And I fear talking to people as well. And I just took it as well. So when it comes to moments of self-doubt, of course, getting started, I was like, am I even going to do it? I don't even know tech enough to be teaching someone as well. So that was the first moment of self-doubt. But yeah, we just go through it and you'll figure it out. And as far as I grew in the career, of course, opportunities were coming in. And now it's not just about Kenya, not just about Africa. And you have to train people from, Europe as well. You have to train seniors. I've had people in my class who are like, I don't know, 30 years older, and I get in, and the first thing is like, I don't even know what to tell this person. They know everything. So, and I panic as well, but we have to go through that. Moments of self-doubt. I have this story, it's embarrassing, but I'll just put it out there as well. So, once upon a time, yeah, once upon a time, I did a training actually. It was for some German students as well, uh, cloud related training. And I thought I was doing well. And after some moments, so when I joined in, I think a couple of people dropped out and said as well that they might know everything that I'm going to teach them either way. And I was like, oh, that hurts. But then even moving forward, I got a lot of, so of course we need to get feedback on how everything is going. And for me to be recommended to do that training, that meant I was doing well in my own area, that is Africa. So, and now I collect feedback from the trainees and majority are okay. But one feedback crushed me. Uh, and it was like, you should get us native English speakers to train us. Her pronunciation is not good enough. Uh, things like that. And at that point, I was really like, why am I even doing this? So maybe I should leave training. Maybe I should go behind my desk and code like everyone else as well. Yeah, I was really crashed at the moment. I remember I ranted for like a week on what exactly am I doing?
Yeah.
Am I doing here? But how I navigated that, of course, the thing is you always have, I don't know how to put it, but a trail of everything you have done, to push you to the next level. So I started going back as well. Okay, I understand with the accent. Maybe there is not much I can do about that. But um, going back to all the trainings I have done before, I had a record of all the trainings. I know how I have grown. I have collected feedback before, and people know I'm a great instructor as well. And even the other people from the cohort were voting that, okay, the training is okay. So sometimes that track record that you have had before, I have trained before. I have trained before even, people who are not from Africa as well. So I was like, it's okay. It's okay. And I moved on, and actually, yeah, like a year later, I was authorized by AWS now to do official delivery. So yeah, it works out, the track record of what you have been doing, and you always, fail and you come back again, you get more challenges, and you'll be like, I managed that one. How big will this be? And the cohort certified as well. Uh, they passed. So later on, and I was like, okay, what was that about?
Yeah.
Yeah, we get through it that way.
Yeah, you can fail, but getting up and choosing to move forward is the most important part. So thank you for that part of the story, and thank you that you continued, because that's why you're here. And in a few months, you'll also be training women in this AfChix network on virtualization and cloud computing. So thank you for choosing to move forward on that. So I want to move to the next question, and I would like for Kamanu to answer this. Actually, it's a question for everybody because I think it would be a bit more personalized. What has helped you progress the most in your career? Has it been mentorship? Has it been the community that you surround yourself with? Has it been you advocating for yourself, or you saying yes to every opportunity that comes that might scare you, as Nzisa said? So maybe we can start with Cecilia, because we've not had her voice in a long time, and then go to Kamanu, Pauline, and then we finish with Nzisa on this question.
Okay. I was waiting for Kamanu to start, and then I'll get the opportunity. Okay. So what has helped me most progress? I think it's a layered, and as you progress, you I've used different things. At the beginning of the
Mhm.
career, it was hard work, showing up, wanting to do everything. Then you realize, okay, everything is not going to, really be what gets you there. You almost have to be strategic in how you pick what you're going to work on and how the value that it creates for you. And and so then that hard work moved to some self advocacy where you're starting to speak for yourself. You're starting to speak with your managers. You're managing up. You're managing down. You're starting to really see where it is, and then you get to a point you realize, okay, you cannot do it by yourself. Then that's where you need to start looking for sponsors, mentors, what I call your board of directors, and key people who want to see you succeed, people who will challenge you, people who will help you and guide you. And I'm also a believer in, as I've practiced this now for some time, there's necessarily nothing I'm trying to do that is very new that hasn't been done before. So somebody has done it. And if somebody has done it, I just need to find who has done it, learn from them, and then make it my own. For it to be able to be something that I can take on and move on with it. So and then definitely there have been opportunities that because of either my career where I've been favor that I've gotten that have propelled my career and how I have advanced and the opportunity of things that I've been able to work on. My own curiosity, I've been very curious. I'm also a person who I need to be learning to feel like I'm functioning. So there's a part of me, that curiosity that pushes me to want to do more. I believe we're very capable of doing a lot more. And so I'm always looking for what is that next challenging thing that I could take on that will help me. But at the same time, not saying yes to everything, but being very strategic because as you get older, as Ichi mentioned here, you have a full family, you're working, it's exhausting. So you also at the same time have to be very strategic. At the beginning, you could say a lot of yeses, but as you advance in your career, you're very strategic. And I've had mentors who've, told me when you think about that opportunity, what's the strategic move? A lot of very senior people don't just make moves. They look through them and they know exactly why they're doing them. So as you start, could be a lot of yeses. You're also trying to understand yourself, understand your own interests, your own passions. So you could have a lot of yeses, and also you're young to take on a lot of things. But as you get older, I think you have to be strategic. You have to put the right people around you, the right resources around you to advance your career.
Thank you, Cecilia. Thank
Yeah.
you. Dr. Ichi?
Yeah, like I said, I always like going second because, someone always says something that is so heartwarming. So I do like this question. What has helped you progress the most in your career? Before I answer, I do want to say there's three things that have to be added to this. Okay, have to be added to this. And Zuka spoke about all of them. One is hard work. There is no compromise to working hard. I think coming to stay towards that realization that people work so hard. I think in some ways, especially us who grew up in the city, we were protected a lot from hard work. When you come here to even progress in your career, hard work has to be part of it. So I know a lot of people here already working hard, but it has to be mentioned. The other thing, and Cecilia mentioned it again, was upskilling. You do not finish your 4 years of college and then say, okay, that's it. This skill set that I learned, this becomes skill set, now I'm done. So skill
Yeah.
set or upskilling has to be there. And then the other thing that I would add, and probably for me is the most important thing, and Zisa framed it so well, is self-knowledge. So it's an exercise of daily reflection and reconciliation. How did that day go? What are those things I could have done different? How could I have approached this thing differently so that tomorrow I know how to do it differently? The reflection and reconciliation is a must do because self-knowledge is what's going to allow you to actually now go to this step of, do I need a mentor because I am lacking in this thing?
Mhm.
Because I need to hear a voice that's not my manager's voice, but someone whose voice I can relate to. So that's where mentorship comes in. And I feel strongly about mentorship because I know this to be true for Nzisa and Zuka. We're often asked to be mentors. And now I've gotten to a point where I have to be strategic and say, what are you looking for? And can we make it like 6 months, not forever and ever and ever? So to be able to scale, you have to even do the same thing as a mentee. You have to seek mentors based on your reflection and reconciliation. What type of mentor am I looking for? And how does that differ from, and I know this word, Nzisa said it a few times, and I was in a panel with some Kenyans a few years ago, and they said this sponsor word could mean many things. But in the context of career, we're talking about someone who can actually shape your career, whereas a mentor is someone who can guide you in decision making about your career. Okay. So suddenly mentorship has been big. Community, look where we are over here. You cannot do anything without community. And, one of the things very early when I started this Wazesha thing, I don't know if Nzuka remembers this, but she came to me and she said, so you're talking to all these people, like, are you capturing their stories?
Mm.
And that's when it hit me, Wazesha is not about me. It's about shared experiences. It's about the community coming in and saying, hey, I know this thing. This person says, I know this thing. And collectively, that shared experience actually uplifts you. So
Yeah.
certainly could not have done anything without the community. Self-advocacy, um, it's interesting for me in my career. It has been more of someone advocating for me
Mhm.
and an opportunity coming more than me being a self advocate for myself. And here's what I mean: when you start working, you need to go in almost like a blank sheet of paper. That means, to the extent that you're able, you need to be able to do as much as you can that will stretch you. So for me, I remember very early on, this guy used to come to work late. And so I used to say, oh, I'll work until he comes. I'll work until he comes. And then I'll be given a small assignment, a small project to do something. And I'd be like, okay, yeah, I'll do it. And then I would ask people, how is this done? And people would say, oh, it's done like A, B, C, D. And I would say, where is it documented? Oh, we don't have documents. So then I would prepare processes. So it was just things that I was just kind of naturally doing.
Mm.
But all those things were being noticed by someone else. And so my first big career move was going from a tech in a network operations center to being the supervisor of the people that I was in the same NOC center with,
Mhm.
right? And then another situation happened where now I'm the manager of this network operations center, and they say, well, we have to move these jobs to a different location. And we need to do it in 4 weeks. At that point, a decision had to be made. Am I going to fight the system and say, no, 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 as a matter of principle, I cannot do it? Or am
Mm.
I going to find a way to do it? And I remember, very similar to what Pauline said, you're scared, you don't know what it means, but your mouth just says, I can't do it in 4 weeks, I'll do it in 6 weeks. You don't say no, but you figure out a way to do it. And you say, the
Mm.
rest will come. And I can give you literally tens of examples where the opportunity has come in, not necessarily because of me advocating for myself, like verbally, but
Mm.
because the work that I'm doing is being recognized by someone who then advocates on my behalf. Now, when you get to, Nzuka and Zisa's stage where you're a really seasoned professional, then you can start dictating things like, I'm going to stay in this role for 18 months. And then I'm going to intentionally change roles so that I can become an expert at something else. So the intentionality drives the self-advocacy there. So the way I would summarize it is this: add hard work, upskilling, and self-knowledge to this. Those are prerequisites. Mentorship, be very conscious about what that means, both for you and for the person you're seeking mentorship from. Community is a given. That's why AfChix is here. And we will continue to advocate for AfChix because this is the community you're building. Self-advocacy, I think you have to be very careful with that because it could be seen in a different light. If you're saying, "Hey, I want that job," but you're not yet qualified, you don't have the track record for it. So work hard and you will find that people would advocate on your behalf for you. And then and the opportunity will come as a result of that. And then I think at some point, again, these are very general guidelines. At some point, you can start being selective about the roles you want to choose, and that will help you grow. So,
Thank you. Thank you so much. There's a lot to gain from this panel today. I'm so grateful that you guys are here, really, from the bottom of my heart. I hope the sentiment is the same for everybody else who's joined us. I would like Pauline to answer this question also, and then Zisa would finish it.
Okay, so I also think it has been a combination of both. It started with basically when I did not have any mentors first, what I did was I engaged in communities. So I started with communities, learning with people. Even some communities, I didn't even know what I'm doing there. But I realized I learn a lot. Like you just get to learn a lot. Even here, I'm literally taking notes. So I started with communities, and then from the communities came the mentorship because I started seeing people who I aligned with, talking there as well, and yeah, being intentional about what I want and where I want to be. I also requested mentorship. Some just came naturally, some I had to request as well in that case. So those two have been combined as well. In terms of self-advocacy, on my end, especially for those people who really want to build the techie path, what I do is basically build in public. I just don't say, oh, I want this. Please give it to me as well. So what I do is I share what I'm learning as well. I have a YouTube channel and I have gotten opportunities from that. I just document everything I'm doing, and that, I have gotten opportunities just from advocating for myself. Someone saying, I saw this, I saw you can build this. Can you build this for me? And that has really helped me as well. Now, in terms of community, what comes in is just don't engage. So I moved from a place where I was just sitting down in the community and started now volunteering, speaking, and giving also in the community. That you always have something to give as well. So just don't say, okay, I'm enough chicks. Cool. If you can do something, you can volunteer something as well. And now people will notice you from doing that. Me being here today is through advocacy from people who have met from other communities as well. So yeah, I think combination of both. I'm done.
Wonderful, wonderful.
All right. I think the things that have been covered are extensive and cover a lot of the answers. What I would say, to be honest, I think these things matter. All of them matter together, separately, throughout your career as you move forward. A very good point that Cecilia made that I want to emphasize too is being intentional about where you want to go, right? And then steering your life in that direction. Now, when you start out, you don't know that, right? So you're relying on what inputs you're getting from people. So in my life, I would say it started with, I told a few of you yesterday, standard 3, teacher Mary told me that I'm good at math. That's the first time I had someone say that to me. And then I realized it comes to me very easy. Biology doesn't, history doesn't, but the technical things, even at that age, come to me easily. So if your parents and you're here, you're seeing those things in your children, those encouragements actually, they build on themselves. Moving further into my life, I've been privileged to have a lot of uncles. My dad has a lot of brothers, and so does my mother. All those men have been very positive, luckily. I don't know if it's because they're cows. Shout out. But very encouraging, and there was no gender difference between men and women. And in my life, in my family, I would say I come from a big family, and the women live big lives and the men live big lives. So some of it too is also the influence you get, because I think I would say not everybody is supposed to live a big life and not everybody is supposed to live a small life. You kind of have to decide which of those two you want, and neither one is better than the other. So if you're hearing us speaking here and you're hearing us having these big lives, it doesn't mean you have to choose that. You could choose to have a small life and still it matters, right? But for my life and where I was born, I don't think there was a choice, that it's just the way it was. So we like going for big challenges. And I think I, chose big challenges throughout my life. And um, those were encouraged by the mentors I had, the sponsors I had from childhood, from college. The first advice my mom gave me, she was not techie, but she told me never stay in a job for more than 2 years because you will stagnate. Maybe that's bad advice for other people, but for me, I took it to heart. So every 2 or 3 years, I was always looking for something different. And in a way, I didn't realize at the time, but I was steering. I guess she was steering my career without really knowing technical things. So that made me have to think about, okay, if I'm going to get another job on my third year, how is it different from what I've already done? How does it build on what I've already done and make me better than where I was? And over time, between that, exposing myself to community, I'm part of a lot of communities, starting up my own community. I opened a startup house last year in Kenya for a year, spent a lot of money, spent a lot of time. We did hackathons between San Francisco and Kenya. And through all that exposure, I realized I love community, but I don't necessarily need to be the one running the community. So some of those things also, as you steer yourself and expose yourself to these things, it tells you, okay, I need to dial back on this. This feeds my soul. This doesn't feed my soul. And you start to kind of clip. You can't be in everything and you can't be everywhere and you can't be everyone. So I know I like to be in a community, but I don't necessarily want to be the driver of the community. Um, you also learn things like even with self-advocacy. I reached out to Dr. Ichi in 2019. I was living in Dallas. I had just launched a huge system for healthcare. And I was like, okay, I've checked off healthcare. I get bored. I'm like, if I go into an industry, I figure out that industry. I'm like, okay, great. I figured out finance. All right. Now I need to figure, like, I don't know. I just do get bored. And so I was like, okay, I've figured out healthcare. What else can I do? And I'm like, okay, I want to go back to Kenya one day. I want to be part of effecting change. I understand the privilege I hold from either my family, a lot of the privileges Ichi pointed out. I also have those privileges. So I do feel a responsibility to come back and help change the fact that we have to come here to America to be part of tech. Like that shouldn't be the way, right? So how do I do that? So I was like, okay, one day I want to go back to Kenya, but I need to be taken seriously. And they keep pulling me out of tech. So I need to go to the hardest part of technology. Which part is that? It's data centers. Didn't know anything about it. And I knew Ichi, so I was like, hey Ichi, tell me what you do. What do you think? You think there's anything that, so I floated in my resume. We didn't talk for a little bit. And then at some point, an opportunity showed up. He's a true sponsor. Like he walks his talk. And it's because of Ichi that I'm at Google. I'll always give him his flowers for that, for sure, 100%. He walked my resume to the hiring manager and got me into that role. So I got into Google because I was steering my career because I wanted to get to know the most hardest thing and how sausage is made so that when I come back to Kenya and I come back to Africa, I can be part of making change, but I cannot speak to the change if I don't know how it works.
Yeah.
So
Mm. Wow.
self-advocacy can look like that. It's not necessarily saying, I want this job, or it's just helping steer your career. You control your destiny. You should decide what you want for your life. You should decide what looks like a happy life at 60, 70, 80. When you're at your deathbed, what will you be happy to have achieved? For me, honestly, now I know it's not ecosystem building, it's being part of building really concrete systems across Africa. And how do I get there? Those are the steps I'm taking now, right? Um, and then the opportunity opens up once you really are clear on where you want to go. And even now at work, whenever I get challenges, I look at what am I learning here that I can
Yeah.
apply in 3 years, 4 years, 10 years when I come back to Kenya, because best believe I'm coming back home. And yes, we're going to be part of infrastructure building across Africa. That's going to happen. And
Awesome.
nobody else is going to do it. Who's going to do it?
Yeah,
It's
that's
us.
true.
So it's all those things and then clipping things as you go. Um, but I want to emphasize it's never clear at the beginning. You can only
Mm.
see all these things in retrospect. So be kind to yourself as you move forward because you're not going to know you're on the right path until you look back as well. So, take it
Thank
easy
you.
and enjoy the journey. I've really enjoyed the journey. I kind of follow my curiosity, to be honest with you, and
Mm.
it served me well. And in that, you work hard, right? So,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's
Thank you so much for that, Nzisa. There's no running from hard work, guys. You must work hard for you to move into the spaces that you want to move into. And just to get off what Nzisa has said about filling your cup, I want to ask Cecilia this question. The next question, which is about the fact that yes, as human beings, we work most of our lives, but we do have other things that we do, personal lives and responsibilities that we have to take care of. So, Cecilia, how have you balanced career growth with personal responsibilities and life outside work?
The question is there truly a balance?
Is there truly a balance? Yes.
Is there truly a balance? I th- and my view is I've done my career throughout all the different seasons of my life. Whether you're starting a family, your family is in the middle, and I think it's a couple of things. You can have it all at the same time, but you can have it all. And what that for me means is I will have the family that I desired. There's a time that I have to give more to my work than I'll do the family, but there's also a time that I'll need to do the family more than I need to. And I have to be able to put the system and the resources around me to support that.
Yeah.
I'm in consulting, high demanding job. So I look at my life and say, what am I able to do? I live in the US where labor is very expensive. So some things are not easy to come by. But what I've had the opportunity and the privilege to do is like, for example, if it's the staff in the home, I've outsourced that. And I know for me to be a great mother, a great wife, and to still pursue my career, because that is something that, as Nzisa was saying, she's curious and she gets bored. That's me. I want to pursue my career, and I'm always curious to the next things. So things that I can outsource them. So because I wanna, the key here is to be a good mother to my kids, pursue my career, and there are times I've also held my career. When the kids were younger, I held it. So I say you can have it all, not at the same time. So I cannot have greatest mother, greatest wife, greatest career at the same time. I did my MBA when I was pregnant, getting my baby, and still full time. and a parent. What that moment or that period taught me is human beings were very capable of a lot of things. Now, how long that can be sustained is the question. And that's why I come to there are moments for everything. There's a moment to grow my family. There's a moment to pull up my career. There's a moment to the family has grown and I don't have to do the manual work with the kids anymore. And it's a balance. And so when you look at it at the end, you've been able to achieve it, but it wasn't at the peak for each one of them. So a true balance, it's finding community to help you with a couple of things that you can give out, having your family involved in what you're doing and them understanding the choices in the career that you're pursuing and what it takes. My son walks in and he knows mommy's in a meeting. He will come, hug me, and leave, and he'll come and talk to me when I finish the meeting. And just everybody in my life understanding the journey that we are taking and why we're taking that journey. So that's how I view the balance of career and personal. You will have it not at the same time. All of it will be at peak.
Yeah. Nzisa, do you have anything to add to this before we jump into advising people who are looking into getting into their careers?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I'm a very social person. When I'm outside of work, I'm not a techie. I take off that hat. And I think I would encourage people to be more than just their role and their job. It's very boring to be walking around talking about your job all the time. I do a lot of things. I play tennis. I like Pilates. I like going out for champagne with my girlfriends. I like spending time with my family, being a good partner, being a good daughter, soon to be a good mother. You have to, again, look at what you want to be at 80 and reflect back and say, what does that look like? Is it going to be that I was the most important person in my role, in my job? Also, jobs end. I mean, I've been laid off before. So who are you outside of that? I would say 6 years ago, I was having a very challenging time in my career and I was chasing a promotion and I couldn't get it. And I was so upset. And then I decided I'm upset because I'm putting all the eggs in this basket. And that's when I opened Clutch and I spread my energy into some other things. And that released some of the tension I was having towards wanting this promotion. And by pouring myself into Clutch and focusing on other things as well, it also fed some other part of me, right? So I would say, venture out in different directions and try different things outside of your particular role. Please stay active, stay healthy, get out and do something outside of just your tech job.
No, I agree with you. To move on to almost because of our time, I want us to move on to the last segment, which would be majorly the advice that we would give to people seeking to, grow in their careers. And what we are learning through this mentorship session is that we are leveraging AI in whatever skills we have so that then we can grow, not necessarily looking for careers in AI. And being able to grow in that way. And so this is a question because to Nzisa, Dr. Ichi, and Cecilia, because I think you've been in the workplace for longer to be able to answer this question. And maybe you have been in opportunities where you could speak into hiring decisions or building your teams around you and having opinions on what kind of people you want in your team. And so for those who are here listening and waiting to, grow in terms of their skills, they've heard a lot about, how to upskill and all that. But we want to talk about the personal attributes that people should, maybe have let's say in the workspace that they could possibly work on, improve on, and pick up. And so the question is, if you are hiring, what kind of technical skills and personal attributes do you look for when hiring in your team? So, sorry, I didn't give direction on who's going to answer that. So we will start with Dr. Kamanu, go to Nzisa, then Cecilia.
Okay. Thank you. Before I answer that question, I do want to mention something that Nzisa, you said so well, right? It's a journey. Enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
So as I think about it, I don't know the demographic of the people who are of the attendees, but I can imagine some of what we're saying is really intimidating. Wow, oh my God, I'm so far from being there. And then to the other side where they're like, been there, done that. But I think part of building a good career is being able to the extent possible, enjoy it, right? And being
Yeah.
able to distinguish very early on the difference between what I call passion versus purpose versus paycheck, right? So what that means is sometimes you do the job just because you need a paycheck, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, right? It's a paycheck. I need to pay bills. I need to do A, B, C, D, and that's fine. Now, if your paycheck is in doing something you're passionate about, then that's great. Because passion is, I am willing to work hard. I'm willing to overcome all this mental stress, fatigue, because I'm passionate about this work. But also realize passion changes over time. There's a time when very early on in my career, I would go open up computers, disassemble them, put the motherboard, the NIC card, put the cabling, bring it up and make it work. Then I'm like, yeah, then I would bring a switch and a router. Then I would do some command prompting in the Cisco switch and the router, and then see that these things are communicating. Ask me to do that now. Honestly, I wouldn't do it, right? I'm not passionate about it anymore. So it's okay that your passion changes. And then everyone is seeking purpose, right? The why they exist. And Zisa said it so well. She's like, I'm seeing it now, my purpose, the why that I want to leave, the legacy I want to leave, I can see it now. So I want to encourage everyone, just like all the other panelists have encouraged, it's okay if you're in different stages of that. If it's a paycheck you
Yeah.
want, let it be a paycheck. If it's something you're passionate about and can spend hours of pain on, then do it. But it doesn't have to be a purpose just now. Your purpose could be what Nzuka said, your family. It could actually be, how am I going to raise my kids in the best way possible? And that's your purpose for now, not
Yeah.
AfChix, not anything else. It's
Yeah.
your family.
Yeah.
So I wanted to point that. Now, if I'm hiring, what technical skills and personal attributes am I looking for? I'm going to go on a rant for just 2 minutes, and because I think everyone needs to know this. So those of you who have a background in information technology, computer science, are probably familiar with this model. It's called the OSI model. Okay. The OSI model is something we learned a long time ago. It's been there for probably 40 or 50 years. And it's a model that says, how does one machine speak to another machine? And at the bottom of the model is what's called the physical layer. Then there's the data link layer, then there's the network layer, then there's the transport layer, presentation layer, application layer, right? Session, presentation, application. What does that mean and why is it important? That means that when you are attacking a field like artificial intelligence or in tech, there are many different parts of it where you could be involved in terms of a technical skill set. You could be the one at the physical layer. That means you're literally the one who's going and connecting physical cables. You're the one who's pulling fiber. You're the one who's doing that physical work. And that is an expertise. You could be the one who's in the data link layer. You're the one who's been sent out to little huts and field offices. You're putting line cards, you're putting switches there. That's your expertise. You could be in the network layer. You're the one who's behind the scenes, behind the switches, behind the routers. You're putting command prompt. You're learning all these networking terms. That's a field right there. You could be the one in the transport layer, the one who's in cybersecurity doing firewalls and all of that. That could be a technical expertise. Or you could be the people at the upper layer who are doing prompt engineering, compute, what do you call it, coding, like all of that stuff. So when we look at technical skills, please remember, technical skill is not one thing. It's not just programming. I failed miserably in programming from DBase 3 plus to DBase 4 to C++ plus plus to Java. Like I was a failure in all those things, right? My skill set was in networking, right? So the first thing I want everyone to understand in terms of technical skills is where is your expertise using the OSI model as a reference? And then hone in on that skill set. If you're good at programming, you're up here. If you're good at networking, you're over here. If you're good at the physical there, you're down here. So that's the technical skill that you have to be good at. In terms of hiring, once we recognize that person A is really good at this skill set, then there's those attributes that we look for, which allow us to think about if I bring this person in and I assign them a project, how are they going to be able to deliver this project? And I'll name a couple of attributes. One that is very important is um, general cognitive ability. And so what that means is basically how do you think? How do you process information? If I give you a hypothetical situation, how would you answer it? So developing that general cognitive skill set is very important because I'll say something like, hey, Barbara, imagine if you joined Google for the first time and a project was thrown your way. What is the first thing you would do? And I'm not looking for specifically an answer. I'm looking for the way you think. And it could be that your mental model is, oh, I would first meet with a team, see what the team does, see what their norms are, see where there's a repository of information, use Ducky or some internal AI-based tool to try and understand the ecosystem. Maybe that's your answer, and that's fine because it shows how you think. So general cognitive ability is extremely important in learning. And sometimes that learning comes through discussions like this. Sometimes they come through mock interviews. Sometimes it comes through what I talked about, reflection and reconciliation and listening and learning. So that's very important. The other thing that's highly important is leadership. Leadership, leadership, leadership. How do you lead? And that comes from self-knowledge. When Nzisa put in that tooling of your personality traits, being able to understand the type of leader you are. And if you're faced with a situation, how would you lead? That attribute, I'm looking for it because it tells me whether you're a manager or a leader, whether you're a controller or collaborator, tells me about how you performance manage. Again, those are things you may not inherently know. They come to me and to Nzuka and to Nzisa because we've done this for a long time. But that's where, even if I think about AfChix, where that is an opportunity where we can teach you what those things are. So that when you go for that interview, it just comes out, yeah, able to articulate it very clearly. So leadership and GCA. Um, the third thing I'll say is mindset. Okay. And now mindset is a big thing, but mindset is for me, and I'm very vocal about this framework that over the years I've sort of crafted. It's called the fumble mindset, which is basically fumble is in American terms when someone passes you the football. They call it football over here. That thing of throwing, then someone receives it. Yeah, it's football. Fumbling is when you're supposed to catch it, but you mess up, you drop it, right? So I use that fumble acronym to say this. The F in fumble is facing fear. Never, I am not a fan of telling someone, don't be afraid, because being afraid is what allowed us to evolve as humans. You have to be afraid, that way you can react. But facing fear means when you're going for an interview, you're going to be fearful. And two of the ways you can overcome or face that fear is one, you learn what it is, you become a subject matter expert at what it is. Just like Pauline talked about her fear, but she knew her stuff, right? So she's able to face fear. And the second thing is what they call, psychologists call exposure therapy. That means you expose yourself to the thing. And that means for people here, for AfChix, is exposing yourself to mock interviews, mock training, mentorship, so that you face that fear. So that's a mindset. The second thing about the U in Fumble is unlearning. And what I noticed with a lot of people, and I'm sure Nzisa kind of mentioned it over here, is you try and hit your head against the wall trying to do the same thing over and over and over and over again, and you're looking for a different answer. Getting unstuck is actually removing yourself and saying, let me take a sit back and say, what do I really want to do? When I hear AI, I know someone asked the question, prompt engineering, do I need to get stuck and fixated on prompt engineering? No. Get unstuck, remove yourself and say, oh, there's all these roles that I can do. What about this one, which aligns with who I am, with my passion, with my purpose, and my skill set? Right? So that's unlearn. M is mindset. You have to have not just fixed mindset means I was born this way, right? Growth mindset means I was born this way, but I can grow this way. So I'm willing to learn new things. But I tell people you have to have an infinite mindset. Anything is possible because a growth mindset assumes you know the future. Zisa will tell you right now, 5 years from now, the things that will be here, we haven't even thought of now. So we can't even grow into it because it doesn't even exist. You
Yeah.
know, it's public information that data centers are going to be built in space. So maybe you should become an astronaut. Who's going to be the data center technician repairing machines in space? I don't know. How are they going to get there? I don't know. I heard this on radio just the other day in Zuka. Here in Atlanta, different counties are now putting together what the process is going to be for air taxis. So I want you to imagine in Nairobi County, they're saying, okay, this is the place where air taxis will land. And then Machako, or whatever other counties there, some places in Machakos are like, we don't want to be polluted by air taxis. So that's where they're thinking. Imagine if us were over here saying prompt engineering and people are thinking about data centers in space and air taxis. Who's going to be the Uber driver for a taxi? That's enabling AI. So having that mindset, that infinite mindset, that's the M. B, and we used to share this with Nzisa all the time. You have to be bold. You have to raise your hand. You have to ask the question. You have to say, I want this job. You have to. When you sit back, and as Kenyans, we were taught to be so humble. Just sit down, someone will know you're doing well. Nzisa, is that the case in Staton? Zuka, is that the case? Oh, someone will see. Someone will see. Me, I'm humble. I'm humble. So B is for be bold. L is leadership because you have to lead. And leadership comes from self-knowledge. You have to know what type of leader you are. And E is what Nzisa said. You have to execute. That means when the question came in the chat where someone said, what you're changing careers every 2 years, will that someone see it as, this person, doesn't is not committed or is job hopping? No, you have delivered. You have executed. And execution means not just thinking and then passing it on, thinking, processing, nailing it. Now you have a track record like Pauline did, and now no one can question her about her authority when it comes to those things. So I've said a lot, but I would, in summary, it is identify on the OSI model for tech people, where is it that you reside? In terms of personal attributes, make sure general cognitive ability, leadership, and your mindset. That's what we're looking for. And in the mindset, create a framework that allows you to have that mindset that when you're interviewed, you nail the job. When you appear, you nail the job. So that's what I have to say.
Wow. Nzisa,
Okay, so I'm a person who has strong opinions, but they're loosely held. Mhm. I would say some of what I'm going to say is influenced by, again, my background. When
Mhm.
I would jump into the car, my dad picking me up, he would say, "How did you do in class?" Not just me, all my siblings. And if you say anything other than an A, he's like, well, that's not acceptable. And honestly, unfortunately, that's who I have become, and that's who I am. So I'll say for me, as I hire people, and I've experienced this last year because I did a lot of hiring across Kenya, it's very important to me for people to not make excuses. I didn't
Mhm.
realize how much I hate it. I really hate excuses. If you didn't get something done, don't tell me all the reasons why it couldn't get done. Let's talk through like what you could have done differently and how you would do different in the future. It's so depending on who hires you, think of that in mind. So for me, when I'm hiring, the things that am tuning myself and realizing I can tolerate is I want someone who has a sharp mind. To be honest, I'm not gonna lie. This is the truth.
Mhm.
In our field, Ichi will tell you, Cecilia will tell you, you get to a point in your career where the banter is so fast in meetings. If you're not sharp and you're not able to keep up, you're not gonna make it. You're not gonna make it. So I don't want to come here and lie to you.
Mhm.
You're not gonna make it. And I think sometimes Kenya lies to us a little bit about some of the truth. What you see in maybe politics and all of that is not the truth about the real world. In the real world, especially in the tech world, it's important for you to be resilient, but it's also important for you to be sharp, to know your stuff. So those are the things I look for technically. What are the latest um, technologies that you've taken on? You don't have to be the best at Rust or the best at React, but you need to know these things. You need to know for where you are in your career, what are the
Mhm.
tools, what are the programming languages, whatever that is. If you don't know Claude and you want me to expect that you will get hired, how does that work, right? So you have a
Mhm.
responsibility. I have I have like I think 10 pulse on ChatGPT. Yes, I know I can Google, but I have on ChatGPT, I have 10 pulse. Pulse is basically like you set up things to tell you to go do research for on your behalf. So once a day you get a bulletin. So I have bulletins that are telling me about what's happening across Africa in physical asset orchestration because that's what I'm interested in, right? I have on Gemini, it's telling me daily this is what's happening in, this is what happened across Africa or across Kenya, or across America in Claude or whatever. Like I have to stay on top of things. So I expect the same from someone I'm hiring. You have a responsibility to stay on top of these things. And if you don't, then you're not going to be meaningful. Sorry for me and for my team and for where we're trying to go. So you will get hired, but you will just not get hired by me. Um, so those I'll just be very honest. Something else Pauline said that I want to emphasize is resilience.
Yeah.
I need you to be hard. I need you to be tough. I need you to not be shaken by small things. Some people at work will talk to you some kind of way, and you cannot get sensitive about it. It's just the way of the world. You have to again decide where are you going, and if where you're going is more important than this moment in time, you can endure this moment. If they tell you your accent is getting in the way of understanding, you're like, okay, great perspective, thank you. Maybe I'll work on my attonation, but you know what? It doesn't change the fact that I am actually going to be an AWS lecturer. That
Mhm.
doesn't change because that's the path I'm going on. So resilience is something I look for as well. Um, I'm a tough customer, I would say, but I also I deliver to my boss what I expect from people I hire as well.
Mhm.
So um in conclusion, I'll say if you're going to make it, and I think Kenya and Africa has to get to a place where we work harder. I think
Mhm.
we need to get more real about how much hard work it's going to take for us to actually get there. And where you differentiate yourself if you're in this call and you're listening to this is to be that person that decides, you know what, I'm going to be that person that looks at what's going on in America and what's happening because that's going to come to Kenya. in a matter of years and get ahead of the game and prepare yourself technically to be in that position. Because those companies will come. We are going to bring those solutions, and we're going to be looking around and looking for who is staying ahead of these things. You don't have to
Yeah.
go and invent anything new. Cecilia said it. Everything under the sun has been done already. Kenya is not going to go and start doing something that's not happening in America. It doesn't happen. Just go see what's happening right now in Silicon Valley. Go to the YC directory and look at all the companies that are being formed. Those are type of companies that will then be represented across Africa. Go learn those skills because that will be expected. And then work hard and just take life seriously. Take life seriously. Because you're going to turn 40 and look back and time goes so, so fast. Personal attributes, in closing, looking for artificial intelligence. I said resilience is very important to me. Being quick on your feet, being a person who goes out and looks for information and learns. You don't have to know everything, but I need to see that you're staying in the game. So those are the things I would say are important. Life is not easy. You gotta work hard. You
Yeah.
gotta work hard. There's no shortcuts. And I will tell you in closing, it's sink or swim, and it's very easy to know who doesn't know their stuff at some point. She will tell you in some of the calls we are in, like, if you're not keeping up, you don't get a chance to go and then reflect later and come back and give input. No, you're giving input on the call right here. So you gotta get to a point where you're able to really be quick on your feet and tough. And so take those things seriously now. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. And Cecilia, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, again, agreeing with what Dr. Ichia said and Nzisa, I spend a lot of time. I spend actually most of my Friday mornings hiring and interviewing people. And I have two buckets of people that I'm hiring. We're hiring campus hires, new analysts, and then we hire experienced hires, people who are transitioning. And when I'm looking at those two people, one, for the new campus hires, I'm always very excited because they're about to start their journey. They're about to start their careers. And I think when I look at them, even getting an opportunity to come and interview at Deloitte, I'm like, it's a jackpot. You're going to see the best of the best in corporate, how it operates. You're going to have a view of different things. And so I'm always very encouraged. And I take the role to really encourage them. Most of people have the baseline of they have the education, they have some certifications they've done, and so they can speak to that. But you're new. What you need to work on is being curious, being coachable, and being able to express yourself and being able to communicate well in your team and being ready to ask questions when you don't know. I tell them it is your time to ask the questions. It is the time to say, I do not know. Because where did you know it from? What you're taught in school and what you're coming to do at work are going to be different. And we are going to train you in how we execute things. It is now your business to be coachable, to be teachable, for you to take that on and understand how this works and come back with questions and be able to put the effort, be able to raise the hand and say, I have some bandwidth I can take on. Ask the question, what are you expecting this to be complete? And as I'm giving you directions, I'm also telling you that. And I know Nzisa mentioned something about hard work. Hard work is crucial. And sometimes I say, I don't think Kenyans lack hard work, but we have a culture of shortcuts, quick wins. That is what, because we'll run 20 things and not want to do, the work that we're supposed to do. If you look at the American culture, consistency pays. If you look at an NBA footballer, a musician, if you look at the life of those people, they have labored from when they were young. It is not something they picked up in high school or college. Since they were the age of 5, 6, 7, they've been doing the same thing consistently for a very long time. And that's how they become experts. We have a culture where I want to pick this, do it a few times and leave it. And so you miss the opportunity to become an expert, to be known in that thing, and to build your brand as the expert in that. And so you can walk into the room as the expert in that. Okay. And so that's where our hard work gets a little bit construed. Now, for the experienced hire, I think if you spend your time understanding the skill set of what you're doing and being good at it, I think a lot has already been said. But this is what, as experienced hires, this is, and somebody who's building your career, and also this I think would also go to a new hire. The way there's a quote I saw from she's called Carla Harris. She was a former executive at Morgan Stanley, and what she said is performance currency has a diminishing return, but relationship currency has a potential. So as we build our careers and as we go out there, figure out how performance is what gets you into the door. Relationship is what keeps you going. And at some point in our careers, it's not our performance, it's our relationships that give us what we are looking for. That you can call somebody and they know exactly what you do, how good you are at it, and that they can be there and say, hey, just like I think Nzisa said, Dr. Ichi just took the resume and gave it to the hiring manager. That's a relationship that got that door opened. And so as we proceed and as we grow in our careers and we start our careers, let's also think about, I think a lot has been said, the resilience, the consistency, all that. But as we proceed also, I think this relationship currency becomes also a very important thing for us. Now, self-advocacy in this country, these people have been taught how to self-advocate for themselves since they were young. They will tell you exactly what they're thinking. They come to the interview, they know exactly what they're looking for, what they don't want, they'll have the questions. When they're at work, they are expressing, they're putting meetings with their bosses to tell them, this is what I'm looking for, this is what I would desire to do. So they have been taught to self-advocate. I don't think our culture is very good at helping us self-advocate for ourselves. It's an idea of see me, I'm doing well, and pick me up. But here, nobody will pick you up. You need to self-advocate for yourself because everybody self-advocates for themselves and they've been taught how to do it since they were young in very many different angles of their lives. And so when they come to the job place, while most of us will come from Africa and maybe at the beginning of our careers, we were thinking only hard work will get you there. No, you got to have a plan. You got to have a plan and figure out who is going to help you work your plan. And that's how you become you're strategic in your work. So those are some of the things I would add to what has already been said.
Wow. Thank you so much. And before we wrap up, I wanted to have maybe Pauline give a parting shot. Actually, all of you, since Nzisa has left us, I'm sure she's going in for a meeting. She's just started her day, so we can excuse her for that. I wanted to ask each of you to give a statement or a parting shot. After everything that you've said, what is it that you want our learners today and our attendees to go away with? A parting shot. So we can start with Pauline and then Dr. Kamanu, and then Cecilia would wrap it up for us before we go into any questions that there may be from the audience.
Okay, thank you. So mine will be short. So for those who are basically starting out, so what I'd like to say is do what you can with what you have and do it right now. It's just that. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I like that. Do what you can with what you have. One of the things for me that I failed to say was um, I was I very quickly, when I came to the US, was able to leverage the certifications that were coming out at that point in time. So during my time, there was this Microsoft Certified Solutions Engineer, there was Cisco Certified Network Associate. So those were certifications that were there at that point in time. And I cannot, what they did for my career projection was tremendous because they were the things that people were learning. So in addition, I know all of you are either in school, you have families, you're doing all of this stuff. But if you can create space for that upskilling. If you're indeed a technical person, find out what are the current technical certs that are in place. Go to Pauline, get AWS certified, get GCP certified, whatever it is, because that credential at that point in time will be a force multiplier for you in the future. So don't leave school. You have to have your degree. Don't leave your family. Nzuka talked about that. But just find, I remember I used to wake up. What I used to do was I would schedule a test a month in advance so that I'm committed. Crap, I have to go for this test. So that was my signal of commitment. Then I would find time, and Zuka talks a lot about this, between 5 and 8 in the morning and after 5 in the evening to study for that certification. Then I would go do that certification, but in the meantime, I've already set the next one. So figure out today whether it's GCP, AWS, like a lot of these courses are actually free. The preparation for these courses are free, but get those certifications right now, ladies, right now, because that will boost your career.
Thank you, Dr. Kamano. And Cecilia?
Yeah, so what a practical advice, somebody who's pursuing this. So I agree with everything that has been said. A plan is very important. Go get the certifications. That's what will open your door as you're starting your career. And even in mid-career and all that, we are being asked to do certifications. I had to do a certification before end of February because for us to show the client that we are taking the learning seriously and that our practitioners we are all equipped to go do the job. So we'll be asked to do all this AWS, pick something and do so that when we go to the client, show that you have people who are certified in something, whether it's Google, whether it's we work with all these organizations to make sure that people are certified. So if an organization is making sure we are certified, then on our own, I think it's important we stay certified. The other thing I think I would add or finish with is self-awareness. Know what you're really looking for. Stick to it, learn, and improve on it. As Dr. Ichi said, the reflection. And honestly speaking, if it's planned, you have it planned, you achieve it, you build on it, consistency will get you where you're going. It's not an overnight. You might go to LinkedIn and look at somebody's background and think, oh, nothing was built. All you see is somebody coming out and showing you all this. There is a lot of fight behind the scenes that people are carrying, that there are wars that we don't see. Take your war, work on it, wherever you are, and build on it, and you'll get where you want to go. And build your own self work and what you want for your life. I think that's what I would finish with. And just be, what are you good at? Self-aware. Where do I want to go? What are my circumstances? What can I overcome? And again, no excuses. We just go for it. Yeah.
Wow. I would like to offer a hand clap, a visible one, because this has been a really powerful session. I have filled 2 notebooks, 2 pages, just writing down tidbits. And I'm so grateful for each and every one of you, Cecilia, Nzisa in absentia, Pauline, and Ichi. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This is why we do this, because we can talk about having our careers in these different places, talking about all the things that we want to do, but hearing from people who have actually gone ahead and are doing stuff is much more impactful. You know, speaking from the horse's mouth, very authentic conversation, very honest conversations, and I really appreciate this. You know, we've heard you cannot run away from hard work. Hard work and consistency, extra hard work and consistency. Being curious is something that they've talked about here today. Trying to find out, being able to just be a curious individual, trying to find out what's happening in the world. Don't just sit within your cocoon and think that what you're doing is enough. I don't think it is. Go out and find out what's happening out there in the world. So many things are changing, and you can't stay with just the knowledge that you have. And I'm picking up all these things. And also being able to plan and strategically know where you want to go. Having a plan for your life, choosing to move forward, picking yourself up after you fall, and keep going on and keeping on. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to each and every one of our panelists today. I think we have gone above our time, unless there's one burning question from the audience. I will give like 10 seconds for us to have a confident question asker, if there is. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ichi. Do we have any question from the audience? I would take that pause to mean we are trying to internalize all the amazing things that have been said, because it's been heavy, it's been very educational. I've really enjoyed it, and I am looking forward to continuing to have these conversations with each of you panelists. I will reach out to you after this, just to ensure that we are keeping in touch and being able to ensure that we continue to give this impact. I see Patricia, her hand is up. Please go ahead and unmute.
Okay. Hi, Barbara again.
Hi.
Thank you, panelists, for the discussion. It was really insightful. Like, I enjoyed everything. Now, my question is on having a plan. Let's say starting off, you were in school, you did your IT, or you have a different background and you are trying to pivot into IT, you have a particular structure that you intend to follow, and then all of a sudden there's an opportunity that takes you off that particular path. What do you do in that case? Do you pursue that opportunity, especially when there's money involved and you know that you need to survive? Do you focus on how you want to go on your trajectory, or you change paths based on what you are getting at the moment?
Thank you, Patricia. Which panelist would like to take that on?
I think this one speaks very personally to me, so I'd love to start, and I'm sure Nzuka can do. So life is about change, and change is constant. Okay. When I was in high school, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. But lesson one, I knew what I did not want to do. I did not want to do medicine. I didn't want any of those like things, right? So I went to Lower Kabete to do BCom. But between finishing high school and going to do BCom, which is what I thought I wanted to do, I went to Strathmore, I asked for a job, and I got a job doing computers. And so when I was in BCom, I was focused on marketing. I wanted to do marketing. So far, here's the story so far. I didn't know what I want to do in high school. I'm called to BCom, which I think is okay, marketing, but then I'm acquiring a skill set in computers, data entry, things like that. And then fast forward, I come to the US and I say, okay, I'm going to do marketing. I go my first class, one of my first classes is in psychology. And I'm like, oh, I love psychology. This is what God has called me to become. Okay, I'm going to become a psychologist. So I'm pursuing a study in psychology, but then I'm working in tech because I'm kind of good at it. And then when I was done with my associate's degree in psychology, I started doing my advanced degree in tech. So it was a very confusing time. There's the things you like, the things you want, the things you're skilled in. And so I think one way to think about it is number one, it can be all, it can be and, not just or. Is this or this? It can be this and this and this, and oh, by the way, this and this and this and this. Because I love psychology, sociology, and that's what maybe my purpose is built on. But I can't deny the fact that I'm good in tech. So if it's a matter of choosing one or the other, I'm going to say I'll choose this and this. So that's number one. It's a function of and. The second thing, because you mentioned money, which is very important, you have to ground yourself in what life is about. And right now, life is about being able to take care of yourself, your family, your loved ones. And that may mean pursuing paycheck with the hope that passion and purpose will come later. Again, it's not giving up one for the other. It's this and that and that. And then the third one, and this is more, I think this has been fed by my experience, but it's also in some ways people will say, oh, you're being too altruistic. Is life unfolds. The decision you make today, Patricia, by tomorrow, that decision will have led to an opening in another door that will then lead to an opening in another door. And then you find yourself practicing what you loved in the first place after you've gone through these 5 or 6 doors. The opportunities that are presented to you are a chance for you to continue on with your journey. So, net, I would say change is constant, be adaptive, think of an and mindset versus an or mindset, and be able to distinguish between the things you like and love and the things you're good at, because sometimes they're not the same thing. And then, most importantly, if all that is too much of a headache for you, just say, what are the things that I absolutely don't want? And at least write those down. I don't want to be a doctor. I don't want to be a coder. I don't want to be CPA. Like Cecilia, when she talks about CG numbers, I'm like, I can't. My mind can't even can't even think that. So I already know the 3 or 4 things that I do not want. The rest is an open field that I've been blessed to at least see and be able to evaluate.
And Cecilia, I think as you speak more onto what Dr. Ichi has said, there's a question here. I think you can combine it. Frida is asking, how can she bridge her first career, which is clinical medicine, and her current one in data science in the tech world? She's having trouble doing that bridging, and maybe there's ideas of where she could get exposure for that.
Okay. Yeah, so to the first question, I think that was Patricia's question. I think Ichi has really answered it well. He's a very philosophical man, so his answers are very very well structured. But if what I had was there's an opportunity that has come up. I need it for money to survive. And you have a plan. But now you're being taken off plan. Again, plans, as the chair said, they're meant to be flexible, but at least you have a roadmap. I think what I would do in this case is say, I have this opportunity to survive and I need the money. How does this fit into the plan? Does it fit? Does it totally throw you off? Okay. And now you're aware what that opportunity truly is. Does it fit into the long-term journey? Does it take you off? Is it something that I want to do for the moment that I need to survive and come back, and what else do I need to be doing while I'm doing this thing to survive, to stay on track of what I would really want. Because what also sometimes happens is you take the opportunity for money, and then after a while, you're out of the survival mode, and now you don't have a plan and you don't even like what you did. But if you have a plan and you have the survival opportunity, if you take it, I think you owe yourself to do an analysis and say, what does it fit into? Does it take me off? Okay, I'm aware it takes me off. What does that mean for me? How long do I want to do it? What else can I still be doing while I'm surviving to build the plan that I really want? And I think if you really do that, you will get the answer and you'll be aware why you're taking it, and you'll still not be disrupting the plan if it doesn't fit into the plan. Yeah, so that is to that question. And then I think the other question was the clinical, they're a medic clinical, yeah, and then they've done data science.
Yeah.
I think that places somebody in a very unique place, in the sense that, one, you understand how the medical space works. Yeah, you understand what type of data is being stored there. Like, if people were to really come down and speak about the type of data that is the patient goes through and that happens you would be one person who should understand when they say some things, yeah, whether it's the code for like I see a lot of nurses here come into tech. Move from a bedside nursing into tech. Why? Because they understand those terminologies. They understand what is really happening. They can walk you through the process of a patient, the process of a hospital that they deal with every day. And so you take advantage of the knowledge that you have to transition into data science, if that's what you want. For example, I took the knowledge that I had from a finance background into tech, and because there are different layers into this tech. Tech is serving somebody. For me, tech was serving the business. I understood the business perspective from a finance side. Now I've expanded from finance. I know a lot of the business side of things in overall, but you use that to transition that knowledge. There are a lot of people who are in tech that don't have that knowledge that you have. So take advantage of that knowledge that you have and transition it into data science, and you'll be able to speak the language that is needed. That's the way I would look at it.
Awesome. Thank you.
I hope that answers the question to the person, because I know those questions can be, you're trying to figure out really how to go about it.
Yeah, I think you've even given me some things to think about for myself, even as you're answering our audience. So thank you so much for that. I do not want to go a minute over 6:30. And so I want to say thank you once more to Cecilia, to Ichi, to Pauline, and to Nzisa. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We will definitely do this again, and maybe in person when you come visit in Kenya, and maybe online when we want to maybe invite everybody else from across the continent who's joined. So thank you so much. The audience is giving you hearts and hand claps and love and cheers, because it's really been a meaningful session with you guys. So thank you so much for saying yes to us, to AfChix, and thank you for saying yes to doing this with us, because it's definitely moved a needle, it's moved an idea for someone. So we are really appreciative of this.